As a college freshman in love with all things related to photography and film, I've spent my first semester capturing all the special moments. When I was a child, I found joy on the stage, always dreaming of the day I'd reach the silver screen. But as I grew up, I realized there was just as much excitement to discover on the other side of the camera. I found a passion for seizing pieces of my world through a thin lens, turning footage into feelings. Creativity runs through the veins of the family. I was always surrounded by my father's artwork, the angelic voice of my aunt, and my cousin's instrumental brilliance. I discovered the same artistic drive in myself, though I traded pencils and trumpets for a camera and a computer. I'm not the first aspiring filmmaker in my family. A brave, brilliant young man found passion in cinematic creation decades before I was born. It was this same passion that motivated him to serve for the U.S. Marines in Beirut, Lebanon. His name was Stephen Lariviere, Marine Sergeant, filmmaker, and beloved branch of my family tree. Many remember the dates of December 7th, 1941, and September 11th, 2001, as shattering and devastating to this country. Though I believe October 23rd, 1983 should be recalled with the same national sense of mourning and grief.
Good morning from CBS News, New York. At least 76 United States Marines were killed this morning in Lebanon, and at least 115 were wounded. Those numbers may rise considerably higher. A truck filled with explosives was driven into a compound, the midst of a Marine Battalion headquarters, a 4-story building at the Beirut airport, and the explosives were detonated. The 4-story building collapsed on about 150 or 200 sleeping Marines. Just a couple of minutes later, another car filled with explosives crashed into the compound a mile away, where soldiers of the French peacekeeping force were sleeping. Official Beirut radio, in an unconfirmed report, said as many as 100 French soldiers were killed. Until now, in the peacekeeping effort in Lebanon, 7 Marines have lost their lives. This morning, 76 at least, and perhaps many more than that.
220 Marines, 18 sailors, and 3 soldiers were killed in the blast. Stephen was one of the valiant men that lost his life in the explosion. Truthfully, I didn't know much about him until this moment, but a quick Google search instantly introduced me to my late third cousin. One of 10 children, Stephen was only 22 years old when he lost his life in the attack. He graduated from Chicopee High School in 1980 with a passion for photography and stop-motion animation film. He joined the Marine Corps to save money for college. His mother, M. Janet Lariviere, said Stephen always told her he'd be making movies and he'd be giving up his life for his country. I found all of this on an online article posted in 2008. I couldn't believe I knew so little about someone I was already inspired by. But it didn't stop here. There was still so much more to discover about Stephen.
Okay, my name is Diane Herman, and I am McKenna Traffican's aunt, and I was cousin to Stephen Lariviere, and also his godmother when I was 14 years old.
So my name is Alec Traffican, and I am Stephen Lariviere's second cousin.
His father was a war hero. His name was Richard Lariviere, and if you've ever seen the movie Bridge Too Far, that movie was centered around him. It was not true to fact, but he was supposed to be the main character. He stormed Normandy Beach that day. He was a paratrooper.
Well, I was born in 1971, and he visited, I probably would guess, in 1980. He was very creative, had a very strong desire to create things. And that first is what I remember most about him. He couldn't wait to show us this movie that he had made. And at that time, I didn't even understand how movies were made. And his first movie that he showed us was a monster movie of, I think, King Kong fighting lizards and things like that. It was all still animation. So he would explain to us that he moved a little figure just a little bit each time and shot it and eventually created this animation, which I was just amazed and blown away by. That he created the characters, he created the puppets that were used in the piece, he shot it all himself. I was just amazed.
He was making animated films with a 8mm camera, and he would take one frame at a time. He'd set up his figures, take one frame, click the camera once, change them, set it up again.
Stephen broke and went to Marines, so he was the Marine, and I can remember the letters that were sent home when he was in Beirut, and he would tell his father what he could tell him, without breaking a confidence. But that he would say, all I could remember is he was saying, we're sitting ducks, we're sitting here on the top of a building and we're sitting ducks. So he didn't have any fear. He wanted to help his country, defend those who couldn't defend themselves, and do his part.
He inspired me to show creativity. And I can remember sitting at the kitchen table right after he left and instantly just starting to draw and thinking, wow, this is who I could be if I grew up. And, and it's basically, he was one of the few that kickstarted what I would eventually enter into, which is graphic design.
It shocked us all. It shocked and rocked us all. It was 241 souls perished that day, and nobody knew where Stephen was. He had just come back to the barracks from an all-nighter, and I guess he was on the bottom level, and it took weeks to locate him.
I think that he was on the cutting edge of producing films that had sci-fi in them, that used techniques at that time that were pretty amazing. And he had a real interest in it. I think he'd probably be doing CGI, or he'd be very heavily involved in the special effects side of things. I don't know if he would be telling stories, but he sure did seem very interested in the technical side of how movies are made, and certainly seemed to understand it.
He'd be working for Disney or Pixar. He'd be doing, I don't know if he'd be doing animation, because now everything is so computerized. But he would definitely be in some sort of film production, some sort of TV, movie production, because that's what he loved. Something I know about looking at all my brothers and sisters, at an early age, if we pick something up of an interest, we pretty much stick with it, and we made careers out of it.
And he accomplished a lot in high school, and everybody loved him. Everybody loved him.
I see Stephen in this family. His determination, his heart, his creativity. It's reflected through all those who live to honor his memory. So I promise to keep capturing all the little beautiful moments in this life, for this legacy of creativity, for a calling I cannot ignore, for him.